Hello, everyone, and welcome to Whose League Is It Anyway, episode 27. Just caught Nick Allen off guard. That's what happens whenever I start the show. We've got a lot to talk about, and of course, we actually have a rioter on the show for the first time in over a year and a half. The last time was a disaster, so hopefully not this time. But we'll see him. He'll be joining us about halfway through the show at around 2:30 or so. I'll be adding him into the call. Until then, let me go ahead and introduce you to these three wonderful fine men. Shox is away on assignment right now. We sent her off to the Middle East to report on all the new esports happenings there. But in the meantime, let me tell you about Nick Allen. How's it going, Nick Allen?
Going pretty good. Are you going to tell me? Are you going to introduce me? Or am I going to introduce myself?
So Nick Allen works for a company called Ziff Davis. And exactly. He's Nick Allen Ziff Davis. That's what
I thought Ziff Davis was just like one guy. I was like, what the heck?
One guy's behind your company? Holy
boy, was I confused when I found out the truth.
So, well, I'll ask him about that later, and he'll be able to say absolutely nothing, but we'll get to that point later on in the show. Next up, all the way from Europe, because we got to have that typical European presence on the show, is Panky. How's it going, Panky?
Going good, Travis.
Yeah. What's that necklace you got? Is that like a dime? Do you carry like
it's no, it's a Saint Christopher thing.
Okay. I thought it was like a North American like treasure, from your time here. Anyway, Alex Penn is joining us from Texas, and he's the man behind All Things Leaguepedia. He runs that site by himself, all by himself. I'm just kidding. There's a lot of people. He just sort of puts his name out there and then doesn't really do anything. How's it going, Alex Penn?
Pretty good. How about you, Travis?
Pretty good. I'm just taking a sip of this delicious ice water because it's kind of warm in Santa Monica today. Either way.
Alex, I like the color of your sweatshirt, bro.
Yeah.
I like your sweatshirt more, man.
Yeah.
No one will ever know. Either way, let's go ahead and talk about, again, we got Riot Magus joining us later on at, I know, yes, that happens sometimes. Random people walk by in the background. We've got Riot Magus joining us later on at around 2:30, so in about 20 minutes or so. Until then, we're going to talk about IM, CPS, NLB Finals, OGN Finals, the Super Bowl, Fear going to Vulcan, TBC going to Complexity, Azubu dropped and joining CJ Entis. And then I got to say some nice things about the TSM tourney because I said that I would. So let's go ahead and get this show on the road. Who wants to talk about IM? Any of you guys? Any of you guys slightly Brazilian? Nick Allen, go.
Nick does.
So I predicted that the Koreans would win. And when they lost in the group stage, I got all of these Twitter. Yeah, everyone was tweeting at me about how I was wrong, about how the Brazilian scene is super strong. And I even made a comment to Carmack, because Carmack said something like,
I saw that.
This is why we have these tournaments in these like obscure locations, to give people a chance. And I was like, give them a chance against completely terrible Korean teams, basically. But the Korean team came through in the end and won like I knew they would. And it's all about the strength of the Korean scene, man. They're really strong. That even their their bottom of the barrel teams still can win a whole tournament.
Monte Cristo on this show. I'm very confused.
Can I make the one comment that was the best comment of the entire weekend? Is that Brazilian teams have more wins against Koreans than TSM does? Because that was the greatest comment.
That is pretty good.
Said on stream.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate.
It is.
Poor TSM.
Nick Monte Cristo.
They got really angry about that. Yeah, no, I thought the event was pretty cool, though. I am happy that they're doing events in places like Brazil. It's funny because they have a PR guy named Bob, which I think, for some reason, I just love the name Bob for a PR guy, because he just messages me on Skype, and his name is I am Bob, or something like that, or I am PR guy Bob, or something. And he's always like, by the way, Travis, we've got room in our press area for you if you want to come join it or whatever. There's always room. And he'll message me this like 2 days before the event when he gives me the final schedule. And I'm like, all right, Bob, I'm going to head down to LAX and I'll be right down at the event. But no, I thought the event was pretty good. We saw some cool games. It's unfortunate that a lot of the top teams weren't able to make it to that. And we've already talked about that at length, but anybody else have any thoughts on IM? We're kind of moving quickly today.
The crowd was like, the crowd. There we go, Nick. I mean, that was probably the biggest story was how the crowd was just crazy. And, like, we wouldn't ever see that in NA. Like, we just see people standing on the side making fun of people going that crazy. And
But I mean,
some of
like,
us might be those people, so...
I remember like watching him like, wow, that crowd has to be like 20,000 people. And then they turn and there's
They
like
pan it,
5.
yeah.
There's like nobody in that whole thing. There was a lot less people than I expected, but they were loud. And when the Brazilian team won in the group stage, I think it was when they beat LGIM and they started like singing and chanting like, I want that so bad. Why does America suck?
Why does America suck?
It's a question a lot of people have asked themselves throughout the years, Nick.
Sorry, I should say
was
North
happening,
America. Maybe it's just the U.S. because technically Brazil's America as well.
The IEM halftime show.
Oh yeah, we had the rapper this time. They had to step it up from cosplayers dancing to rappers because they wanted to one-up themselves. So I felt like they did a really good job.
Yeah. What is up with that anyway?
It made it memorable, I think.
Do we have any insight? No? Yeah, I think everybody's just...
I don't know. People take a lot of risks with like the between game content.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone's like figured it out yet. It ends up always failing pretty hard.
I mean, my favorite is when they always like Riot. I mean, Riot is able to do this because they fly everybody in like a week ahead of time. But when they show like the clips of the highly edited clips and like documentaries and all that kind of stuff, but before or between the matches or whatever.
Yeah, but, Nick, why don't you fly the teams in a week early and do like a week worth of content?
Hire a group of camera guys that have worked with the NFL and the Olympics before. Sure, they come cheap. Create a bunch of content days in advance. It's great. I don't know why you guys don't do that. But
I mean, what could they have stuck to? I guess they could have just done like cosplay, right? I don't really know like what's the.
Well, I know
right thing.
the cosplay group was a Polish group, and that was done obviously by the Polish side of ESL that were running Katowice, and I'm guessing ESL Brazil or Campus Party even probably arranged the rapper guy. Like,
oh yeah,
I don't know if it's I don't know if it's the same thing for the rapper, but like Carmack and Red Eye and those guys didn't know the cosplay group were doing anything until they arrived on site in Poland. So this could have been completely out of the hands of your normal ESL faces. So
why didn't they just get like a DJ or something?
Run away, Nick.
I don't
know. He was I don't know. Mixed reviews. Just kidding.
Yeah. I actually was watching the Chinese LCS qualifiers, and they also had a cosplay group dancing, and it was the greatest thing ever. I was like, "Wait, are these the same people?" And then I was like, "No, they're not Polish." So, but it was really funny because it was like a week and a half after the Poland thing.
All right, let's talk about CPS. Well played, best production crew for online tournaments ever. I had to think about that. I'm like, wait, off.
Both,
whatever.
Right?
It's
Both.
like non-fiction, fiction. That's very strange.
I'm glad they're back, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I know. And they came back.
Because they started in StarCraft and didn't really get too far because there was a lot of other people doing what they did. Then they thought, all right, we'll try this league thing out as it was growing, and got stomped into the ground and a lot of hate. So it kind of went dead, and the organization it got skinned and gutted, and it was quiet for a long time. But now they've come back, and with COD's back in, and with this, and they couldn't have asked for a better start. That was a really, really good.
But at least they've had the 2 tournaments where Dignitas teams were picked up, right?
That's actually true.
I love that the well-played Twitter tweeted that out as like fun fact, and I was like, all right, you got something, guys. Congrats.
Production was insane, man. Like I was talking with Torch, who got to cast a lot of the event, and he was showing me the way that they do some of the stuff that they do, and it's genius. They are way smarter than me. I will come out and say that.
I mean, that's not saying much, but
not saying much.
I have to say, I like that even they would turn like technical issues or problems into like jokes that sort of became like enjoying. Like
series.
Halfway through, I was out of town because I went to a concert, and I got a message. Well, I came back, and there was a message on my computer that was like, from a well-played person. It's like, Double Lift is supposed to be casting. We can't find him. Maybe, and I'm like, I don't even live with them anymore. Like, I still get these messages that are like, get Double Lift because he's like asleep or something. I'm like, no, he lives like an hour away from me. And they were like, well, maybe he'll listen to you. And I'm like, if you can't get a hold of him, I can't get a hold of him. So anyway, he came back, and I guess he said, sorry, I was having Popeyes, which is, and I don't know if you guys saw that, but that's why you saw the CLG Premier Series brought to
Yeah.
you by Popeye's Chicken with Double Lips holding the. And so sorry, I was saying Popeyes. They just did a lot of funny things, or the CLG Pause series, that kind of stuff. It was pretty good. So really, really good. I enjoyed it a lot. Props to CLG. I know everybody said Hotshot pulled through, which. While Hotshot did say that stuff, I find it really funny because I'm fairly certain that almost 99% of that whole thing was orchestrated by like everyone else other than Hotshot. He goes out there and he'll make statements like, "We're gonna do a tournament," and then like the organization is like, "Oh, I guess we're gonna do a tournament. Let's fit it together, guys." So props to CLG for throwing that together. It was really good.
But I mean, he hired the right people, right?
Yeah.
So you got to give him some credit.
Yeah.
He brought this whole thing together.
I hope they do more too. I hope we see more of Well Played.
Yeah, I mean, I had talked to them, and they were. I think this was kind of just like they're going to do this one event and just see how it goes, and then kind of go off from there. But I mean, if this event is any indicator of where it's going to go, hopefully they continue because it's some of the best online stuff ever. And it's really funny too because James Railman used to cast like the Well Played stuff way back in the day, like the Rampage series is right there. He went to the Super Bowl, by the way, guys.
Stole him from them.
And he was saying like, "Oh, the production's really awesome. It's going to be great." And I go back and watch it. I'm like, not that impressed, but at the time, it was like amazing.
Right.
And then they really leveled it up and blew everybody out of the water.
Yeah, I have a friend that was part of the founding group of it, like back when it was StarCraft and they hadn't touched League yet. He had to leave for university commitments and things, but like it was good to see it start and it was strong at that point and they were a great bunch of guys and it's nice to see them still around. So.
Yeah, they're really good.
One of them messaged me and said, one of the Well Played guys, Sino, messaged me and said, for reference, we did all the adminning as well as the production. So it sounds like CLG did decks too.
Okay.
They put their name on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Stuck their players
Classic
on camera.
CLG.
Oh, also I want to shout out
To be honest,
Well Played
I think that's
because
to be honest, that's the smart way to do it.
Yeah.
Like, if you've got an
I wanna-
organization that can do it that well and that professionally, then put your name to it and let them go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. I want to shout out to Well Played for listening on Twitter because I found out that they were doing their loser bracket incorrectly, and I like tweeted it out, and they like fixed it within like an hour because the teams were just not going to the right slots down into the loser bracket, and I got a message from them, and they fixed everything within like an hour. So props to them for listening.
Optimus Tom in chat says CLG provides the casters sometimes. No, yeah, it was pretty good. Really enjoyed it. Props to them. Well Played is back. Hopefully they can keep doing stuff. The view count was pretty horrible, right? Like, what was the highest it got to that you guys saw?
I have 40k at one point.
14?
40.
Oh, 40?
I don't think you got that.
For some
I didn't
reason
see
that
it over,
number
like,
comes to
18.
mind.
I don't know. I didn't see. I wasn't paying attention.
It was
Sino,
similar
Mario.
numbers. Similar numbers to TSM's first tournament. They didn't like blow
Yeah.
everyone out of the water.
20K.
Hang on, no, TSM's first tournament.
23K.
TSM's first tournament we hit 53k
Yeah.
because I did it with Dandin and it was my
26.
biggest number for a
Yeah,
long
it was
time.
Stanton, Panky.
Totally
Yeah, I know it was
wrong.
Dandin. It was like a year ago, but still, it was big.
Can we talk about the results of this tournament, or are we
Sino
just
says
ignore
26K
everything about
peak.
the tournament because like
Wait, there were results? I thought...
First
I thought-
Academy coming all the way from the losers bracket was pretty impressive. Like
That's awesome.
it was like they played a ton of games.
Gigi was really mad. Did you guys see that tweet? He
Oh, because
tweeted,
they-
it was like, we waited around all day and then they decided they were exhausted
Yeah.
and convinced the...
If they had played that, Curse Academy had played 9 games that day. They would have potentially played like 15 games in one day. That would have been 15 hours of games. That would have been horrible.
I just thought it was funny to see Gigi complaining about like the CLG tournament while he's... Yeah, I thought it was funny.
But, like it's ultra pretty standard, I think. I thought they were the top teams. Curse, Azure, Dirtnap, Dignitas. I mean, right now I think they're the strongest amateur teams.
Yeah.
And Curse Academy got an IPL 6 slot, the first one.
Hopefully those amateur tournaments are... Oh yeah, Gretz on IPL 6 Curse Academy. That'll be cool.
There was the Ivy LOL qualifiers as well this weekend, wasn't there?
It was only the first round or second round.
round?
They haven't finished yet. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right, we got 7 minutes. So let's power through some stuff. NLB Finals, Heimer Rush. Heimer
Game
Push.
5. If you haven't watched it, go watch it because it was
So fun.
incredible.
Oh my
it
God.
was like 5 in the morning, and I was watching that shit, and it was great. But
Give a brief rundown for everybody who...
I wouldn't call it Heimer jungle because I didn't see him kill a jungle creep the entire game.
They all did red buff, right? Or did they all do blue buff? They did one of the
Was it
buffs.
like
They all
roaming
did
Heimer?
red. They all did
They all
red.
did
No,
red,
they
and they just pushed mid. They had 4 push mid, and then they had
Ah.
was it Jax? Or who was
Olaf. Olaf top.
just solo push top and get farmed. And
Well,
they
he
just,
had
like,
he was solo top, but he also had teleport. So whenever they would
Right.
push the bottom turret and they would like get it close to that, he would just jump down, kill all the minions. So he was way outscaling the 1v1 lanes, and then the 4-person lane, which was Heimer, Blitz, Caitlyn, and I can't remember the last one, but they were just stuffing it
game
down their
ended
throat.
before
Yeah.
20 minutes. It was like 19 minutes and 45 seconds or something like that.
Yeah, it was
If you've
really
not
fun.
seen that game, go find it and watch it. NLB Finals, GSG versus CJ Intis.
OGN finals. Najin Sword, McNoon MVP.
That's
3-0. Yeah.
Was not expecting that 3-0, but like after the first game, I was like, all right, they're just that much better right now.
Yeah.
And on
I
that
thought-
day,
Pinky, who you typing to? What's going on? What was that? Who's that? Who you talking to? Who's that typing? What's happening?
That was Alex typing.
Oh, I see. All right. Yeah, I get you guys mixed up. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
I don't know what
I
you
mean,
guys
some
were
people
talking
said they
about.
were expecting it. Some people said that with Frost traveling to Europe the week before, not getting as much practice in, not training quite as much as Sword, then some people said maybe Sword would be able to do this, and then they did. But I mean, that's taking nothing away from them. They played really well, and some of them
toppling the
really stuffed.
Azubu, well, the Frost Blaze Empire from finally not winning an OGN.
Yes.
It's really good for Korean esports like in North America because McNoon is such a well-known figure in North America, but we don't really know the personalities or anything besides, with the other players. But McNoon is like a symbol of Korean dominance, and so it's so cool to see him win. And I thought it was going to be 3-1. I thought Frost would squeeze out maybe one win. Didn't work. And Najin's too good.
Did you guys read McNoon's AMA from yesterday? Because he has the greatest responses of all time to like every question. You just have to
Didn't.
you have
but
to
I
read
did
through
love
them all.
McNoon. We love McNoon.
McNoon's pretty awesome.
Yeah, the one question about the mother and the girlfriend with the brain swapped was the best McNoon reply. Go check that out in his AMA. All right, 4 minutes. Fear is joining. They're becoming Star Trek people. I think is what I understand.
Incorrect spelling of Star Trek people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Vulcan.
I really hope that they wanted the Star Trek spelling and then they spelled it wrong, and then this team just blows up for like 20 years with the wrong spelling. That's what I really want.
Yeah, I don't know. From what I talked to Christina a bit about it, and I'm saying, and I guess it's just there's a guy that has this organization, and they bought the League of Legends team from Fear, who has predominantly been like a Call of Duty organization. I don't think that they can necessarily support an LCS team right now because those guys are all gonna have special demands that you need, and so hopefully this new guy is able to do that and flesh it out. So
yeah, I heard that they bought out the contracts.
Yes, they did.
And it was a grip
I don't know how much it
of
was.
cash. I don't know how much it was. I just heard
I heard a ton.
Substantial.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's even making
Glycerol
waves.
says, "Did Fear even send them jerseys?" It's very true. Like from
Fear
the
did not
outside
get
perspective,
jerseys. I
it
can
seemed like
confirm
Fear
that.
did jack shit for that team. Like I'm fairly certain that like Riot sent them everywhere. So I don't.
I think their biggest the biggest reason they picked up Fear to begin with was Afromu, and then Afromu the contract got bought out by CLG, and then he was just gone. And so like after
That's
that.
true, because I did hear rumors that the original contract for Fear had a lot to do with Twitch streaming hours and money coming from that, and so it makes sense that then they were not as interested when Afro wasn't bringing them a lot of money. But again, they weren't doing much for the team anyway, from what it seems like. So
they didn't have their jerseys at the LCS things, did they?
They did not have jerseys. They never got jerseys, correct?
Yeah.
Assuming that they did pay a ton of money for their contracts, then Fear really like cleaned up as an organization because they only had them for what 2 months.
Yeah,
and
that's
they
what
got
I
all
mean,
their contracts bought out for just like a shit ton of money.
That's hilarious.
They're living pretty well right now.
Yeah.
But they need a gaming house, which sucks.
What do we?
all right.
Yeah, they're still looking for housing. They just started like they
Brunch
just
Club?
got to LA. So
Brunch Club got picked up by Complexity, which, no offense to
Surprises
Jason
me.
Lake, But I am kind of concerned about this just because I don't feel like Complexity has a really good track record with their League of Legends teams, and I hope that this works out well for Brunch Club. I think it might have been cooler to see Brunch Club fly solo, because they would have kept that logo. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this is good for them in the long run.
I don't know.
honest.
From what I've heard from a lot of teams that are looking at organizations, and obviously like with the LCS qualifiers, lots of people were getting offers, lots of people were talking to people. Complexity were giving really subpar offers, from what I hear. Like,
I don't know, were they subpar
they don't seem to be
esports
convinced that
offers?
League. No, they were subpar.
Or were they
Like,
subpar
full stop.
CLG TSM offers? You know, like there's a lot of people I think in the NA
it's
scene
just-
who think TSM and CLG are like the standard of what you should be getting paid and stuff for LCS teams, and it's like, no.
No, it was just going to be like, so we know League of Legends got big numbers, but we don't really believe in it. So you can have our name, you can get all the money from Riot, and we'll leave it basically at that. Like, they weren't really offering much extra, from what I hear. But I mean,
I've
I
heard
don't know
they're
what
pitching in
I don't
for
know what deal they
housing, and they
signed.
are giving of all furniture as well. They're providing furniture and housing money. So
well, that's
just,
pretty significant.
just a shout out, because they've had a StarCraft 2 in the house in the past that they just closed down like a month or two ago. So they have all the furniture from that. So that's good for them.
Yeah, I mean, it might.
I mean, that's a
change.
lot of money, because buying furniture is a lot more than people think it is. And, especially when you're starting up a new house with nothing.
You might have to make a donation thread.
I might have to make a donation thread, right, Nick?
I wasn't exactly impressed with the way that they handled their last League of Legends team. So I'm be curious to see how it works out.
Well, here's their chance.
I mean,
Prove
yeah,
yourself
come
to
back and-
four random people on a show.
I
Complexity.
definitely say the scene was a lot different back then, though. Like even
That's true.
even with their name,
Yeah.
like and their like they had a team, and then but they couldn't get to events because a lot of the events back then were still invite or 4-team events. So like you had to be top 4. You couldn't like Complexity's team went to one event, I think. I think it was IPL 3, if I remember it correctly. But like that was the only event they could get to before the team disbanded, and that was partly because Dominic got picked up by Dignitas, and he was on the original Complexity team. So,
pretty big news as well. We're going to have Waylon join us in just a second, Riot Magus. He's doing a couple of quick Skype tests to make sure he's good. But just to let everybody know, CJ Intus now has Azubu Frost and Blaze, which is pretty crazy. So CJ, Frost, and Blaze.
that got announced yesterday. So,
Yeah, do you know anything about it? I've heard a couple things.
The only thing I've
Alex
heard-
Penn knows.
what I've heard is the CJ Inches team that exists is going to be competing for spots on those 2 teams over the next couple months. And the ones that do not make, they'll be taking 2 subs per team or something like that, or 2 subs total. I don't know. There's something about subs before they drop any players.
I had heard that Blaze and Frost didn't like the streaming requirements that Azubu was putting on them, right?
Yeah, that's the
Is that
rumor.
That's 100% correct, yeah.
Okay.
Because they want a team that can be a flagship team for their new platform. Like,
Yeah.
it makes sense from Azubu's. It makes sense from them if they don't want to do that. So,
And this is a KESPA organization.
right.
How many other League of Legends KESPA teams are there?
SKT1 and
Is that it? I can't think of anything else.
No, there's more. There's definitely more.
one sec. Let me look it up. I don't remember all the teams' names.
I mean, CJ had one. And then...
Yeah, CJ already had one, so.
But I think there were more.
KT
KT Rolster.
Rolster.
Culture
Yeah, yeah.
Roaster, yeah.
Samsung Can.
And I've heard there's some rumors of more
Chat,
teams.
you guys are the best.
So I have a question.
What's
Yeah.
up?
I'm wondering if Woong will stay on Frost.
I don't think anyone would be surprised if he's not.
I
don't-
wouldn't be
yeah, I don't think-
surprised,
Yeah.
but
I
I
don't
wouldn't be
think
surprised if he
anybody-
stays. I mean, it's probably going to be based on performance, right?
And I don't think his performance has been
His
that
performance,
great lately.
his performance will not
At
hold him in
all.
that team. It's got to be based on
I've
something
never
else.
been impressed with his play,
No.
like ever.
If Woom stays in the team, it will not be his performance that keeps him there, unless it seriously changes.
Because he is the play caller as well, right? So there's kind of an interesting
Yeah.
dynamic there.
It's
Interesting.
Yeah, his play is pretty. His play in the finals. Yeah.
Well, I
It's
mean,
not tough.
their entire team is doing.
I know, but
not that great.
him individually, it was, on his usual play. It wasn't like it was him play on a bad day.
Very true. TSM tourney. All right, I need to say
Woo!
nice things about it. I told them I would. Okay, that's the IPL 6 qualifier for the Solomid series, and I think there's going to be 2 spots, like first and second place get in. Starts in 3 days, 22 hours, 10 minutes, and 45 seconds. You guys can check that out at Solomid.
Are the teams out yet? Have they given us any information about this besides that it's 32 teams and it's going to be 3 weeks long and it has group stages? That's all I know. I don't have any team roster.
I mean, I could go to Leaguepedia.
It's not on there because they haven't released it.
Well, check it out. There's going to be a bunch of teams there. Looking forward to it.
Solomid, tell me what teams are in your tournament before like the day of, please.
I'm sure that they will, their quality will probably step up in answer to the CLG quality. I would be surprised.
It has to, otherwise they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
All right. Wait, I'm talking to Riot Magus right now. He says they did a mic test, and they think it works. So we're going to bring him on.
Good.
I'm going to switch over to a screen. You guys will be able to still hear us, but I'm going to put up a blank screen while I get everything sorted out and add him to the call and play an ad.
Are you going to chop the recording here?
No. So everybody listening to the YouTube will just have to sit through this and laugh at the fact that it's happening.
Okay.
Nobody's laughing.
Everyone
At
is
all.
laughing right now. All right.
When are Panky and Alex starting a pro team? Alex, when are we starting a pro team?
Today?
We could do that. Who do we want?
Nick Allen?
We'll take Nick Allen, yeah. I think can we just
I'm
take the
listening to the
IGN
ad.
AHDL squad?
You listen to ads?
Hey,
Yeah.
Waylon, can you hear us?
I can hear you guys. Can you
You're
hear
on.
me?
Yes, we can hear you. You're on stream,
Yeah.
so don't say
Yeah.
anything off brand.
Daniel Matthews.
Yeah, Daniel Matthews. All right, I'm just playing an ad and then we'll pop it up. I think that if I press this button, it should. Oh yeah, look at that. That is perfect. That overlay. My God.
Waiting.
Thank you to Chief Tiger for making that overlay. Everything's awesome. You're
Okay,
a
awesome.
little fuzzy. Are you using wireless?
I am using wireless. Do you want me to plug it in? Or
If you could, that
Video.
would be neat. Yeah.
yeah, hold on.
Right.
Oh,
Magus
this overlay is
nice to
sick.
go. Yeah.
Wow, that's really nice.
So now we can have guests on, and we just
Wow.
push to the side.
Travis, like I'm really impressed with you, and I shouldn't be because you didn't make this.
Yeah,
You
there's
didn't
a
make
big
this at all.
designer.
Chief A
Who can we-
Tiger in the chat made it, so it's very cool of him. Thank you.
Yeah, dude, you're awesome.
All right.
All right. You're still kind of fuzzy, Magus, but do you want us to go Waylon or Magus? We all call you Waylon off camera, but do you like Magus for on camera? Can you hear us? Waylon?
It's gone quiet. He's my. Oh dear.
Oh, he's typing. Oh, we lost him. Okay.
Boom. It's all going wrong.
Success so far.
This
This is the best show we've ever had.
Best ever.
Yeah, I know. Pop your camera back on, and we'll see. It probably just to see while you were switching over the Ethernet.
Yeah.
There we go. All right, we got a spinning arm. Okay, that looks better. I think we're better.
Awesome.
We're in a good
That's
place.
better. Great.
Yes.
Right on.
So, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and say what you do at Riot?
Cool. Hey guys, my name is Waylon Roselle. I'm a senior esports manager here at Riot Games, and I do esports.
Okay, that's a good thing. I understand that you were a lot of the responsibility behind the new LO esports site was
Yep.
with you and that kind of thing. And you do a lot of just running around and making sure everything looks good for the production side as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Very cool.
Working on the web, broadcast, all that good stuff.
So we have you on today to talk about just the LCS stuff that's coming up and ask you a few questions about random things. I know Alex Penn has a huge list that he wants to go through, so because he's
Awesome.
always prepared for this stuff. So do you want to go ahead and start off, Alex?
Sure. Let's see. My first question was about the schedule. So, like, we got the time schedule released with the LOL esports site. On Thursdays, you guys have the game starting at 1 p.m. PST. Are you guys worried about that being too early in the day, or what was your thought process behind that?
So, I mean, our thought process is that even though this is a regional league, LoL is popular around the world. It's a global sport, right? And we're really just trying to investigate which times are best. So we have 1 p.m. starting on Thursday, and we have 5 p.m. on Friday. And we're looking to see just, we're staying nimble, as Dustin likes to call it. And we're looking to see what sticks, right? If it's embraced and it's great, we'll stick with it. And if not, we'll stay nimble and change it. So we're going to start with 1 p.m., 5 p.m. and see what happens.
All right.
talking about the scheduling, one of my GameSpot buddies was asking me because he was trying to figure out like when everything is so that he can build pages out for it on the site. You guys split like the schedule on North America on the North America LOL Esports site and the European LOL Esports site.
Yeah.
Are there any plans to make something where, because it's kind of hard because I think North America people automatically get stuck on the North American page.
Yeah.
Is there any plans to make like a more cohesive one where everything is together so you can see like the full schedule for the European matches as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we plan on sort of building and growing into. It makes sense initially to have them split. I do think that one positive piece of feedback that we've gotten from the community is that it's a little confusing to swap between the two sections. So that's something that we've definitely heard, and we'll be looking to improve going forward. But as more leagues spring up and as we improve our ability to cover different leagues around the world, we'll definitely be looking to see if we can do a better job.
So, baby.
Oh, what's up, Redbeard?
Redbeard popping in.
Yeah.
The
VP of Esports. Panky.
The LoL Esports site is something else I wanted to talk about. Like, have you mentioned before that there's a possibility of fantasy leagues coming into that? But what else is going in? Like, is there other plans for really expanding the site big? What are you adding in there? And possibility of a phone app to go with it by any chance?
Well, I definitely can't speak to the phone app. We don't. Sports does a lot of things at Riot, but we don't do mobile. Who knows when it comes to that? If there's demand for it, it's something that we could always consider. But in terms of what we're adding to the site, I can definitely speak to that. So we are working on fantasy esports. I believe Dustin promised second half of this year.
Yes,
so
he did.
There you go. I guess you heard it from Redbeard. But also we are. The thing that we're looking to add in the immediate future is that we want to beef out the ability to like interact with the stats that we're going to have on the site. So we're tracking. I mean, this league structure allows us to track season stats. Like this is the first time in North America that we've had the structure to do that. So we're looking to add a few modules that you can essentially like compare head to head. So if you want to see like 80 carry versus 80 carry, what's their KDA? Like we're looking to add a few of those things to make stats a bit more interactive and easy to access. Stuff like sites like ESPN, where it's just like a big list of stats. It's a little old school, and it's not really interactive and fun. And we're looking to make sure the site is both informative but fun to play around with as well.
Nick, did you have a question?
Yeah, speaking of fun, there's a lot of really cool community-created content. Shows that talk about cool things like Stay the League.
Crazy.
I can't think of anything else, but I'm sure there's other things too. But what are your plans on integrating the community into like these big LCS plans, and how do you approach it without alienating a lot of those community members who are going to be running alongside the tournament?
Yeah, no, it's a good question too. So the big thing that we want to do with LoL Esports is we don't want to come in here and just like use this as the only place to consume content. I mean, LoL Esports is a platform for like the official League Championship Series, like if you want to go for standings and stats and like some of the official news. But we also want this to be a place where we can spotlight what the community is doing. So I guess you could use this as like a discovery tool for the awesome content being created. So a great example is that we actually had folks from GG Chronicle, Team Liquid, and Into LoL write some of the profiles and help us like draft and do research. And I mean, there's a lot of content on there at launch, and it was essentially a team of like 3 people that did this. So we couldn't have done this without the help of the community. And we want to make sure that we continue to spotlight the community, whether it's through like, let's say there's a certain person named Nick Allen does a great show somewhere. Like maybe we could, take the debut and put it on as like a featured article on LoL Esports, just to raise the visibility, so that the goal is that an esports fan shouldn't spend their time looking around for stuff. They should spend their time watching cool stuff. So that's kind of like the principle that we're working under.
I really like that a lot, just because it feels like right now for a content creator, the only place to really showcase the work that they do is Reddit.
Yep.
And while useful, like it's somewhat limited, and there's some groupthink that goes into that too. So having a nice, cool place that people can go to is nice. I have a question from Vindexus, who I think is part of the Well Played staff.
Yes,
he was talking about the money that you guys set aside for smaller events in Season 2. So you guys said that you were setting aside $1 million for that, and I think they were things like NESL and all those different tournaments. Are you planning on doing anything like that around or for the smaller tournaments that showcase non-LCS teams this year?
Yeah, I mean, we've said, I think, fairly consistently that the entire ecosystem is important, and we're not going to just focus on the pro and forget about everything else. So while I can't really get into details about exactly how much of like how big the prize pool is or how much we're setting aside for each particular section, we definitely still want to see these tournaments happen, and we're still going to get behind them. A great example would be Lone Star Clash 2 would be an example of like an awesome blend between pro and collegiate, and we were definitely involved in helping those guys out, and they did a tremendous job. So we want to see more of that for sure.
Cool.
Okay, I wanted to bring up these quote super weeks, week 4 and 10 on the schedule.
Scar was like, what?
Yeah, I saw Scar just
tweeting
tweeting about that.
I was Skyping with Scara, and we were just like, what is happening? There's 20 games for each region on this week. I just wanted to know what is the thought process, I guess, is like the easy way to explain that. Yeah.
So those super weeks, I'm pretty excited about the super weeks because the general philosophy is that we want to have our like day of content be about 4 hours or 4 games. We think that is just the right amount for people who are really interested to get their fix for League of Legends esports, and any longer than that would be a bit tiresome. And we want people to feel like, hey, I can watch pretty much every single game of the regular season and feel good about it, rather than like all these games compressed into like a long weekend. So working backwards from the World Championships, we had a set amount of weeks that we could use for the season, and we were very keen on having a balanced schedule where each team would play each other team 4 times. So the result of this is that we had a few extra games, and instead of trying to expand our 4-hour broadcast to 5, we decided that it would be better to just have like a crazy week where you play 12 games on a Wednesday or in North America, and 12 games on Friday in Europe. And we have those strategically placed so that in week 4 it's a super week, and then we break for CBIT. So you kind of get like a bunch of LoL content for the LCS, and then we break for CBIT. And then we also have it in the last week in week 10, which is kind of like you could think of it like the playoff stretch, where people are like competing for that, either the last spot in the playoffs or for seeding within the playoffs.
Cool. On relation with the playing 4 times, I just wanted to know why you guys decided to have like some teams play 3 games a week, some people play 1 game a week, some people have bye weeks. Go into that.
Sure. So the schedule is balanced in that every team plays every other team 4 times. Each team is going to get blue twice. Each team will get red twice. Each team gets 1 bye week, and each team actually has a week where they only have to play on 1 day. So, and then when they visit an MLG or an IPL, or if they play on a super week, they play like a set number of times, and we're going to send all the temes to like an IPL or MLG. I think we're going to try to. So in that way, it's balanced, and as such, with the addition of the bye weeks, there are only so many. Actually, it's quite the puzzle to schedule. So it just works out that way. If some team has a bye, other teams are going to have to play more. So that's why you see the first week with a couple of the newer teams getting buys, you're going to see more of the established teams, that especially the ones that pre-qualified in Season 2, are going to play a bit more. And it's just kind of the way the schedule works out. But ultimately, it's a balanced schedule where everyone has a chance to play everyone else. And more importantly, you'll be able to see everyone play everyone else. So that's something I think some of the pros have been talking about, where you'll actually be able to scout. And I think that's something that I'm personally excited as like a fantasy sports geek. Scouting is like a huge deal in traditional sports, and I'm excited to see how certain teams are going to react to like, are they going to take scouting seriously? Are they going to watch the games and take notes, or are they just going to play it out like traditionally? So we'll see how that develops.
Panky or Nick, you guys got a question?
Yeah, sure. You guys went on that like the press tour, and you kind of stopped by a lot of these different agencies to talk about what's going on with LCS, and allow them to answer questions and do interviews and things like that. And in that, you guys started talking about the Olympics was one of the big topics, but also I think you guys were mentioning like sports advertising too, and the way that is growing. Am I misspeaking? Anyway, so I'm just
So-
curious about this Olympics thing. If you could just give us more information as to like the interest in that, but also like, is that something that you guys want? Like, is that something you guys want to aspire to in like the recent, the near future, or is that something like that isn't even on the table? You don't even care about?
Well, I think it'd be cool to see just from people watch the Olympics. It's a global thing, and it's just further. I guess for a lot of people, or for some at least, this concept of affirmation is important. But for us, we're really not focused out on the near term. I believe the specific article was like a Fox Sports or a Fox News report that Dustin was referencing. So we're not actually, actively driving it or anything like that. So we have our hands full. We're doing the LCS. We're launching wallesports.com. It's something that we're focused on right now. And if it happens, it happens, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I don't think it's actually necessary for esports to be in the Olympics.
Panky, you got something?
Yeah, I'm going to steal one of Alex's questions because it was relevant. But slight back to the players and the teams, the All-Star matches you said you're going to have. How are they going to be set up? Are you going to pick the All-Stars? Are the community going to be able to vote on them? Is it going to be based on their performance? And you also said that playing in those games is going to have a lot at stake earlier on. Like, no one really hinted exactly what they were playing for, but you made it sound pretty important. So they weren't, so they weren't just going to be messing around and just taking it as a show match, playing silly team modes. You wanted them all trying it. Is there anything you can tell us about what they're playing for yet, or is that still all under wraps?
So I can't tell you guys what they're playing for yet. We're looking to unveil that information over the course of the season, and but I can clarify how players will get in. It will be by fan selection. We want you, the players, to choose who you believe are the best players in your region, and we want you guys to be able to see them duke it out in China, and it's going to be awesome. I mean, I'm personally excited for it. Again, this is something that, I thought it was a big hit at the World Championships, but it was a blend of both try hard and derpy. Although I think everyone who saw the Max schemo, that was awesome, right? So, but we think that we could take aspects of those and still work it into the equivalent of like an All-Star Weekend, where you have like fun games. You can have those like fun, silly moments as well, but we would also like a component where we see like if you created like some hypothetical fantasy team, how would they stack up from one region to the next? I think that'd be a cool thing for fans to see, and I think they want to see it too.
You mentioned that the All-Star thing, you said in China. Had you guys previously mentioned that this was going to be in China?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
And if not, I guess you heard it here first, but I'm pretty sure we mentioned it. If not, Dustin, we're going to China.
The best of one format has been somewhat contentious, just different people saying different things. Some pro players saying that they wish it was a different. What was the reasoning behind that, and are there any possibilities that you guys might change that, for the second half of the season, or where are you guys at on the best of one?
Okay, that's fair. I would say we're pretty excited by what's gonna we'll see what happens with the best of one. We're excited because it is a more predictable and better viewing experience in that with the best of threes, choosing to show two best of threes in an evening can be like up to 6 hours, and it's harder to plan your time around it. And if you're only interested in the second best of three, you actually don't know when it starts. Or if we stick to stringent start times, you have like a gap, which sucks for everyone. So we think best of ones are good for the viewing experience. Plus, I think best of ones will reward teams to experiment and drive the meta forward. I mean, it's interesting to hear people complaining about we want best of threes, but we also don't. We also want people to experiment and drive the meta forward. So I think that you're going to get the fairness of you'll be able to play every team 4 times, and every team plays 28 times over the course of a season. If people are worried about the fabled cheese, it all balances out, and it rewards teams again for scouting and being proactive and being adaptive, and being adaptable is something that I think we should laud our teams for, and we should applaud them when they're successful.
You mentioned best of one, best of three in there. A couple of people have been asking best of two. I mean, that gives some teams, you'd have more weeks off, you'd have more time to scout, you'd have less teams playing each week, but you could also have draws, which would add a whole nother thing into that. Was that something considered, and why did you decide against it?
Do we like draws?
I think it would add a whole new aspect to the league, but
it's interesting, certainly, and it's something that we considered. We we decided to go with the best of ones. But at the same time, I think with the, well, hold on, I'm gonna turn something off really quick here. It's super loud. But anyways, with the best of ones, I think that it does provide the chance to see more frequent, like TSM versus CLG, for example. You'll get to see them 4 different times over the course of the first split, where if you have a best of 2 in our current format, you only get to see them twice over 10 weeks, which is something that I think the frequency is going to outweigh the perceived advantages of the best of the sort of 2-game format. But again, we're going to stay nimble. I think Alex actually asked that earlier, where are we going to, or Alex or Travis, are we going to like change it going forward? Maybe. We'll stay nimble, and if it's something where, sorry that I say stay nimble all the time, but it's true. We're basically gonna see what happens, and if there's a better format out there, we'll go ahead and think about switching to it and think about the pros and cons. But for now, we're very happy with our format, and we'll see what develops.
All right, so my next question is, for weeks 5 and 7 for NA, they have 12 games on a Sunday, which would correspond with MLG Dallas and IPL 6. On EU, they have similar weeks on Sundays for weeks 6 and 8, but there's no EU events that have been announced. Is there any plans of sending EU teams to events in Europe over the season?
Well, we certainly are exploring that option. I don't want to announce anything yet, but we're certainly exploring it just because, we like to see parity between the leagues. We want the experience to be similar, and it could be cool, but, we'll find out.
All right.
Anybody else?
So in terms of like expectations for this whole thing, how are you guys going to know if it's a success? Like, have you sent benchmarks? Like, okay, if we do this, we're going to do it again next year. If we don't, then we're scrapping the whole thing. We're going to redo it. Is there any like point where it's like a clear-cut line of success versus not success?
I mean, we definitely have a number of like performance indicators or metrics or whatnot, but I don't know if it's something where if like we don't hit this, we're going to scrap it and do it all over again. We're very committed to esports. So if you're talking about like scrapping the whole thing and going, yeah, this esports thing, I don't know so much about it. We're strongly committed to esports at Riot. So this is a thing, and it's going to be around. And I think you're going to see more subtle adjustments rather than drastic wholesale changes. And again, we're going to look at everything from just like we do at any other feature, right? We'll look at community feedback. We'll look at whether or not you guys are watching, and we're going to look at the feedback from our pros, and we'll kind of gauge from there, as well as our own sentiment of, is this good, is this quality, is this a really memorable experience for you guys?
Yeah. A lot of people were disappointed by the lack of an audience that was available, at least for the North American side of things. Is that something that you guys would like to bring in the future? That was something that I know whenever we started hearing interviews about all this, maybe even 6 months back, you guys were talking about arenas where people could go watch them in person. So are there still plans for that, or did that get canceled? Where are we at?
Sorry, could you say that again? I actually cut out for
Yeah, that's fine.
a second.
A lot of people, as far as 6 months back, we were hearing plans for arenas where people could go and watch the games as an audience.
Yeah.
And I know that there's going to be extremely limited seating for the European one, but not any public access for North America. Is that something you guys are still looking at bringing, or did you just sort of scale back the plans?
I mean, we're looking to we want to have fans there. It's a great experience. You'll be able to see those teams play live at like an MLG or an IPL, and in Europe you'll be able to see them play every week, although with fairly limited seating, but a decent amount if you can make it out to Cologne. And then of course you'll have the All-Star Game and the World Championships if you can make it to those events. So
right.
We'll see where the scene goes from there. This is something of like an ongoing. We'll look at the demand. We'll look at whether or not we'll look at the opportunities, and we'll make the decision. But I think that we all agree that as sports fans we do like a live audience, so that's something we can strive for.
Cool. I think we have time for one or two more questions. Go ahead.
I was going to follow up on that one and say,
Yeah.
do you think that it creates an unfair advantage or disadvantage for the EU teams that they do have an audience every week?
I don't think so. I don't think that it's a huge deal, because I also think that with the scope of the studio versus like if you were at Galen,
Right.
8,000 people, 8,000 screaming people versus I believe this is in response to like a Reddit thread where some people might perceive that, oh, it's a huge LAN advantage because you get a huge audience versus like NA with no studio. I don't think it's a huge advantage between either one. Both teams are going to get a lot of experience, and actually that's what I'm looking forward to, is seeing how these new teams that have sort of popped out of nowhere, like a Team Martin, or teams that I haven't even heard of until now, and I'm a pretty ardent esports supporter, so seeing how they're going to do with 10 weeks of experience under their belt will be really cool.
Do you think that Europeans will stop complaining on Reddit in North America, or the forums, about being treated less favorably than North American people because they'll have an audience at their stadium, and so now there'll be less of the "whoa, NA gets free RP" because EU West servers are down? You don't have to answer that, Waylon. I know there's no good answer for that.
I have one more question.
I actually will say one small thing, which is just we do take consideration both audiences, and we know that both Europeans and North Americans and League of Legends players around the globe are passionate, and we take that into account. I jokingly start saying EU bias, but I don't want that to turn into a thing where it's like someone complaining about not having NA audience. But right. I mean, really, we take both audiences into account. We're trying to make sure that both audiences can see the games, and we listen to both audiences.
Yeah, I think that's really obvious by the way you guys built out like the LO esports sites and all that kind of thing. It's pretty obvious. Just
a follow-up question. You said you're like a huge esports fan. How disappointed were you when Marn qualified for LCS?
No, I mean it's a great story because I mean that is the one online team that made it through. So in that respect, it was great to see them qualify. And I'll just kind of stop there. So.
Well, I think that sort of wraps this up.
I want one more question.
One more.
When this LO's esports site was initially launched, there was a link to the rule book on the page, and it was removed quickly after the site launched. Are you guys going to post the rule book for everyone to read? Because all right, thank you.
Yes.
That's all I said.
Yeah, absolutely. We're making a few slight tweaks, and then once it's ready, we'll put it out for everyone to read. It's important that the rules are public.
Yeah. Right, thank you.
Quick one relating to rules, relating to new teams and the like. You mentioned player trading is going to be similar to real sports, and there's going to be windows. Is there any kind of more information on that? Riot going to limit the number of trades much? Is it going to, or how long is the window they have to trade these players?
Well, all those will be in the rulebook when it goes out. Yeah.
Sweet.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, I think that's it. Thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate this. I hope it went well. Hopefully there aren't a bunch of I hate Riot Magus threads that go up on Reddit. That would be nice. Yeah. Scumbag Magus. But no, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for taking your time to do this, and looking forward to seeing the matches starting on Thursday at 1, correct?
Correct.
PST.
Thursday 1%. Yep.
Very cool. Well,
awesome.
Thanks a ton. I'm going to switch this over to
thanks, Waylon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm going to switch over to commercial right now and mute the stream, and then we'll be back for some shoutouts. All right.
All of my questions except for
we're
three
unmuted again.
Except for 3. I had like 15 questions.
Yeah.
That's we're back. Yeah, everybody can follow at Riot Magus for that. That was really cool of him to come on. I really appreciate that. People say I swear all writers are awesome. You guys can give him a shout out on Twitter if you appreciated him coming on the show. I think that's always nice whenever Riot gets feedback that they appreciate. People appreciated their being on. Let's see.
What happened to asking community questions? Some of those were community questions.
Yeah, some of those were. I asked a couple of them from the Reddit thread, and some of them Alex Penn integrated. I mentioned Vindixis had one, and there were a couple others. So I think we got a fair amount in. Let's do... Hey, really quickly, Nick Allen, I told you I'd put you on the spot for this. We don't have this in the show notes, but IGN or IPL got bought out from... IGN got bought out to...
Right.
J2, which is like the parent company for Ziff Davis. For those that don't know, Ziff Davis owns a lot of different web properties, and they
Yeah.
And Ziff
They
Davis
used
is
to.
our parent company, so J2 is our grandparent.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
how that works.
Also,
All right.
background on Ziff Davis. Ziff Davis filed Chapter 11 in 2008, and then were bought out by J2. So they haven't been around for a while. So this is like pretty much their big comeback, buying IGN and properties.
Yeah, they have kind of a bad track record.
Yeah.
They bought Electronic Gaming Monthly, which was an amazing magazine, and then they shut it down. I don't know all the information about it, but what I have been assured is the people that ran Ziff Davis back in the day, which is like when they shut down EMG, when they declared bankruptcy, none of those people still work there. So in a lot of ways, it's its own new company. With that being said, I don't know a lot about the deal. I don't know a lot about what it's going to mean for IGN or IPL. We're all kind of still figuring that out right now. But let's hope it's positive. I'm sure it's going to be positive. Keep your head up. We're going to rock. That's all I got really about the whole thing.
Very cool. Well, thanks. I figured I'd ask about it. I feel you because a lot of people still hate GameSpot for the stuff that went down with Jeff Gerstmann and Giant Bomb and all that kind of stuff. But and that was actually a concern I had before I started to do stuff with GameSpot. But I actually found out that all those guys are gone. Whenever Giant Bomb reintegrated with GameSpot, they did a bunch of media around the fact that it's a very different place and everybody's happy to be back there again. And so that made me feel a lot better because the GameSpot that was back then, it was not something I would have wanted to be a part of. So I'm really happy that things are better. Other than that, I think we got through all our show notes. So everyone stick around. We're going to do a Digibet preview really quickly for the LCS stuff. As the show wraps up, we're going to do it as a little separate thing. But until then, let's go ahead and do shout-outs. Alex Penn, you got any plugs or shout-outs?
Leaguepedia.com, at Leaguepedia on Twitter, and then follow me at AlexPenn.
Cool. Nick Allen?
Oh, yeah. Follow me on Twitter, guys, and I will continue to make fun of Marn. That's my promise to you.
Panky?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at lolpanky, not pankylol, and Facebook, panky.lol on Facebook.
We forgot to mention Pulse going to Dignitas whenever we were talking about all the different teams going places.
My bad.
Yeah.
Well, that
Dignitas
makes
is
sense.
small.
Academy teams.
They're not an academy team. Before Sui and Odie or whatever go crazy in the chat, they are technically 5 members on the Dignitas team. The 5 members
sweet?
that are considered
So
subs,
then they won't be competing at
Sui.
MLGs and IPLs under the regular tournament because if they're not an academy team, they're part of the LCS and they can't compete.
Subs in the LCS can compete in the amateur tournament.
Yeah.
So
they will need a team to compete on. Correct?
So they
will
are
be
5
called
subs.
Team
So they will be
Dignitas. They will be
the
called
team-
Team Dignitas in IPL or MLG. They will not be called Team Dignitas Academy. They've messaged me about it many times because of Leaguepedia.
So they are all subs and they are Team Dignitas.
Yes.
But they are not contracted to LCS, so they can play in the
Sounds like 2 different teams to me. That's all I'm going to say.
One
One of
team.
them,
It's one team with 10 players. 5 of them are contracted to LCS, 5 of them aren't. So 5 can play, 5 can't.
Yes.
Those that aren't contracted will play in IPL and MLG. Still the
well,
same
I'm
team.
really happy that Dignitas picked up Pulse to be their new academy team. That's all I'm going to say.
Good to know.
For my shout-outs, you guys can follow me at SOTL Travis on Twitter. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please stick around for the Digibet show in a second, which we'll be doing. It'll be a little bit of downtime while we set that up. It'll take a couple minutes, and we'll do that. There's a League of Legends radio show that's happening. They play League of Legends music and that kind of thing. You can check that out at blacksquirrelradio.com. That's at 10 p.m. EST. And then there's a new, I'm trying to remember the name of the site. Is it that the CLG guys have been posting their blogs under? But it's pretty cool.
Feed.
Lane feed.
Lane feed. I think that's
lanefeed.com.
Yes.
And they have actually contracted a lot of pro players to create some cool content for them. So there's like an article by SYDTKO, and actually just today there's one that went out by Zakent called Outside the Meta. And I think that this is filling a... we already talked about that, Nick. I think that this is filling a... spot in the scene that we really needed, which was like cool pro player analysis. That used to be part of Reign of Gaming, but it kind of went away, and so I'm happy that it's back, and you guys can read all their articles over there. I just want to give them a friendly shout out because I really like their stuff. So that's the show. Stick around for that show. We'll be right back.